Welcome to the Blue Dragon Guild, a channel all about Dungeons and Dragons. My name is Baron.
My name is Dave.
Today we are doing some preparation for Final Boss Con, which is this Saturday, July 15th.
Yep.
Dave, aka the Paint Fraud, is running a painting class at Final Boss Con. Dave, would you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's going to be open for anybody of any skill level, all ages, that kind of a thing. And I'm kind of running it a little bit to see because we haven't done it here before. I'm not sure what kind of crowd we're going to have, so it's going to be exciting to see that. So it's going to be a little bit of what people are interested in to an extent of, if somebody's never painted a mini before, well, I'm not going to go into elaborate, big details and stuff. But if somebody's looking to kind of elevate to competition level, then I can provide some insight and some fun help with that. I do have some minis together, and we're going to try to get the entire mini painted, but depending on skill levels and stuff, it can be kind of difficult. But I also have several different products that a lot of people maybe aren't familiar with. And I know as I started taking classes at various conventions and in different settings, I found that I never, you want to pay $8 for a bottle of contrast if you've never tried it before. People may not necessarily have access to more expensive materials or even materials that aren't just sold in their local shop. So I enjoyed that, and I'll have a lot of that stuff for people to try if they want to look into that. But you'll be able to keep the mini, keep the brush. It should be a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We got Black Dragon RPG in the chat. John, nice to see you. John is looking forward to it. Very excited to meet you and interact with you. Final Boss Con. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah. We did it last year, and last year was the first year, but I had a ball. We all had a ball. It was a great environment, wonderful turnout, everything. It was just a really great experience. And what I like about it is, particularly for our area, if you want to do something like that, you got to drive, hour and a half, 2 hours to go to anything like that. And every year it's getting bigger and better, and it's actively growing, and we're actively trying to grow it. Hence, like the classes and different competitions and stuff that we're doing in contests and such.
Yeah. And Rivers is in the chat. Rivers said it's a great way to get into the hobby, and very true. I mean, D&D alone, like miniatures are pretty much, they're not required, but a lot of people use minis in their D&D games, and painting minis, it's a nice, fun way to get into it. And taking a beginning class, especially if you don't really know anything about it, it's a smart move. And for the area that we're in, like you said, Dave, there's not a lot of this around. You have to travel a good ways to find something. It's a smart thing to do. It's a fun thing to do. I was talking to Mackenzie a couple days ago, and he said his goal for Final Boss Con is to bring a big city convention to our small town area. And just based on last year alone, I'd say he has succeeded in that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We had we did the cosplay contest yesterday. And I mean, if you're not familiar with our area, it's about as rural kind of Appalachian hillbilly type that you can get. I can say that because I grew up along the river. But it is very rural, but yet we had incredible turnout for a cosplay contest. We've never had the convention before, and I've seen other conventions that have existed for years and not have that kind of turnout. So there's a lot of people, there's interest, there's desire for it. Hopefully they'll come out this weekend, and we'll have a ball and just have bigger and better, and just keep growing.
Yeah. It's like straight up, it's gonna be a good time. Um, I Mackenzie's not here to correct me on these statistics, so I'm just gonna do it from memory. But there's gonna be over 90 vendors there selling anything and everything related to like video games, anime, D&D. Like there's so much stuff. There are several guest speakers. Matthew David Rudd, who's a voice actor, he voices Panda in Jujutsu Kaisen. He will be there, and Mackenzie just announced it less than uh, 30-40 minutes ago that Matthew Rudd is going to be doing a panel talking about doing voice acting stuff.
Oh wow!
So that would be pretty rad. I'm gonna try to make it to that, but it's kind of but right up against the mini painting contest. So hopefully I'll be able to make it to all of these things. But if not, it's okay. But yeah, Rivers says conventions are so much fun. Absolutely, they're so much fun. I don't get to attend enough of them. Black Dragon, John. Looking forward to seeing the area. I hear the Mothman isn't too far across the border. Is that right? That is 100% correct.
Yep.
Mothman is a good 15-20 minute drive down Route 35. So maybe you can go over to good old Point Pleasant and see the giant Mothman statue, which is something our area is also well known for.
I have to do thinking about that now. Like maybe next year I'll try to find like a good sculpt of like a Mothman, paint that up, put it on display or something. Like that makes sense how to do that.
Yeah,
maybe that'll be the mini for next year's class, or maybe a contest or something. That could be fun. You just lean right into that.
Yeah.
What I particularly like about and people will notice like mini painting has kind of grown, and it was actually one of the things that became even more successful during the pandemic, because you don't need big groups of people. You can enjoy it yourself. It can be, it is just you. And then of course you can go play, miniature games like Warhammer or D&D and that kind of a thing. But like that's something that you can kind of make it what you want. I'm trying to achieve like, a competition and display pieces, but then like Mackenzie, like he won't spend more than 15-20 minutes at a mini.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's great. I mean, there are even some really excellent techniques and products and things that you can do to achieve a decent looking mini in a relatively short amount of time. So it's kind of it's not just a one size fits all type. Well, no, I guess it is kind of a one size fits all, but not.
Yeah.
Like there's no defined this is the box you have to do it in. There's a lot of different options, possibilities, a lot of different venue. I mean, it's far reaching and broad.
Yeah.
And that's a fun positive quality I find in mini painting. It's also, depending on how you feel, he'd be very relaxing or incredibly tedious. But I guess that depends on the person.
I think for you, Dave, it is about 30% relaxing, and the rest of it just tedious.
Yeah, it can be. Actually, Black Dragon's saying there that typically only paints train pieces. That's not as crazy as you would think. I've seen several classes that are just about painting bases. Matter of fact, at Origins, I had a class, and I don't know how well you can kind of see that, but all we did was basing. And so I got a chance to put together like it went over like flocking and all the different like little bits and all those types of things. So it's weird how basing has kind of become almost like a subgenre of mini painting. But yeah, there's a lot of different and particularly now with the 3D printing and Etsy, it's possibilities are endless.
Yeah. So River said a sec ago that hopefully he can save some vacation time and go, and it's about 4.25 hours from him. So Rivers, it would be really awesome if you could make it out. Mackenzie, Blue Dragon Guild member and founder of Final Boss Con, he has some very big aspirations for the convention next year. So it'll be bigger and better every time Mackenzie does it, because Mackenzie's the person who has to one up himself every single time. So
I don't know if hopefully I'm not spoiling anything or getting in trouble, but I thinking the hope is that maybe we do a 2-day event next year. So I think we've certainly got the events for it.
yeah,
I would love that. So I guess it just kind of depends on how things go and scheduling and all that.
it's something that he's working on. That's one of the big things that we talked about the other day. He's got a couple ideas in the works, so it'll come to fruition one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Do you get a group called Amorphous Blob Games? No, I have never heard of Amorphous Blob Games.
Oh,
Sounds like
that actually sounds familiar. Where am I thinking of that? I'm looking it up now. Filibuster, fill the time.
Let's see. John says that's the stuff I'm into. I have so many different types of grass tufts and little stones and pebbles. I enjoy doing basing. I also really enjoy doing basing stuff. I just, ever since like the birth of my child, it's been harder and harder to find time to do any miniature painting. But he's getting older, so now my time is sort of freeing up a little bit. But kids, you take care of your kids. That's how it is. But I'll get around to using all my mini tuft and all that stuff I have saved up. River says that they go to Origins, Dave, so that might be where you have heard of them.
Yeah, I was at Origins this year. They have a booth or something, or did you just go, or probably walked by or saw you?
Yeah. River said, "Yep, kids can take up your time for sure. Yeah. They definitely can, but I wouldn't change a thing." So.
Well, if you don't take care of them, probably nobody will. So
that's fair.
I don't know where I was going with that.
Dave, he says they have a room upstairs.
Okay. Yeah. Do you guys do the you guys have like gosh, what was it? You guys do like board game demoing or something up there, like RPG? I think I might have been there the year before last. I want to say I did like D&D. If it's where I think it is, I may have actually been there.
Hey, we got Ron in the chat. Ron, how you been? Haven't seen you in a while. John says, my daughter sat in her high chair next to me while I DM for my friends, and now she's 16 DMing her own games.
Wow. That's awesome. There you go. That's parenting done right.
I'll get there.
Yeah, well, he's just youngin'.
River says RPGs. That's what he goes there for.
Yeah. I'm the same too. I love Origins. I've been going for years now. I go for the RPGs and also for the mini painting classes and everything involving mini painting. Um, uh, what's weird is like there are a lot of RPGs out there that aren't D&D that don't really get the time of day, but then you can get a chance to kind of experiment with them and see what it's like at conventions and stuff. And sometimes I kind of wish that like they were a little bigger, like some of them, because some of them were really good. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of like D&D pretty much just cornered the market um, on the RPG world industry.
We'll see you later, Rivers. Get a good night of sleep. 4:30 definitely comes way too fast.
Yeah, it does.
Ron's doing pretty good, aside from all the heat. I agree, the heat is absolutely terrible.
Yeah. It's not even that far into July, and I'm over it.
So I'm pretty sure Ron's a little further west than we are, so he's probably got a little more intense heat. So yeah. So I have all these minis glued to these bases. I don't know. For the 1 hour painting contest, we've got the sorcerer here.
Nice.
And pictures of these are up on good old Instagram if anybody's interested in checking them out. And then for the 2 hour painting contest, we have this paladin guy.
Why did you decide one or the other for, like, which one was 1 hour, which one was 2 hour? Like, what was your thinking with those?
My thought process on the sorcerer for the 1 hour was it's a fairly straightforward mini. It's not too many hardcore details. So my thought was, all right, the people have an hour, so that they can get the mini painted, but in that hour we can see how much they're able to highlight their different skills in that hour time frame. So I thought it was a decent challenge, and kind of the same kind of thought process for the paladin for the 2 hour challenge. You have a whole other hour to get a lot more detail and different things on there.
I'm interested to see what people do with that shield that he's got, because there's a lot of flat space there, and just lots of flat space could be kind of not that interesting on a mini.
Yeah,
it can be kind of tricky, and it almost kind of begs the question of, all right, well, do you want to try to do some freehand on it? And then that depends on how comfortable you are. Not necessarily that we're going to judge this that way, but the way a lot of competitions judge freehand specifically is it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you do it well, it's amazing. If you do it poorly, then you never should have done it and you've made it worse.
Yeah.
But I've talked to several people, like, nobody gives you negatives if you don't freehand. But if you do it and it's good, well, then all the better. So, but in a speed painting competition, I don't know. I'm not speed painter. That is, we've established that is not the demographic. That's not the world I operate in mini painting. It really is actually almost a totally different experience. Yeah, there's actually kind of different strategies and methodologies, and it's just not. I don't know. It's a whole different thing. But I've seen people do some stuff like in a really short amount of time that, like, I've seen people crank out minis in 15 minutes that are like, wow, how'd you do that in 15 minutes? It looked like you spent several hours. But yeah, it's wild. But I mean, whether whether you're experienced or not experienced, I mean, love to see the people with the competition. Are we doing a paint and take?
I don't think we're going to, um, just because of space and time.
Yeah.
Um, and we put those two things together. We have our continuum, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, just don't really have enough space to do that and the mini contests and have someone like sit there and keep an eye on the paint and take the
Right.
whole. So maybe next year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think we may. I'll look into that. Maybe we can get some. There's a lot I'm looking into, trying to prepare for next year. I'm really hoping that things go kind of continue to build as we have, upon last year and such. But yeah, we get a good turnout. People show up. People seem to take interest in. And we're just going to keep feeding into that. It's just going to keep. We get people interested in, like they did cosplay last year. Well, they're going to do it again this year. At least as far as I know, nobody's told me different. So, I mean, people like it. We'll do it.
I talked to two guys who work up at Family Dollar. Like, they are planning their cosplay costume for Saturday. Like
That's rad.
People are talking about it, and it's awesome.
Are they doing it together as a combo or just individually?
Just two separate.
My mind went to like the old horse, like one's the front, one's the back, something like that.
Be fun. I'm going to do a shameless plug here. I think 2 years ago now, we did a 1 hour painting challenge here on the channel. Dave hated every minute of it. And
it did not go well for me. Not at all.
So you can search that video up if you want to check it out. It's one of the few videos with Tommy Birdlicker in it.
Well, he was the judge too.
Yeah, he was our judge, and he has
zero
knowledge or experience, and so it was a lot of fun for us. Speaking of people named Tommy doing judging, Tommy from Madth Productions is coming this Saturday to be a judge for the Blue Dragon Guild's final boss con painting competition. Tommy has done a lot of things in the D&D community. He's done a Kickstarter for some D&D minis. He paints minis. He makes D&D battle maps for digital stuff. Really great guy. I put all his info down in the description of this live stream, so be sure to check his stuff out if you haven't already. And yeah, I think that's all the plugging I got.
I wonder if he's going to bring any of his minis. I'd like to see some of that stuff up close. That's one of the weird things about. It's so difficult because most of what you paint in miniatures, they're tiny. It's little tiny things. So seeing something digitally, even if it's a really good quality camera, you always lose something versus seeing it in person. And usually you see it in person, it's actually better. Like most of the thing, like even competition stuff, like you look up Golden Demon things, like to actually see that in person, it looks even better than in like a digital or in a photo, particularly because you can see different angles and you can see how certain transitions, just because of angles, they don't show up as well. But yeah, it's really, I'd like to see. Maybe next year we should look into this. I'd like to do like a painting competition next year besides just speed. Like speed painting is great, but maybe we should do like an actual like contest display piece competition. We'll have to look into that.
I already have been, so don't you worry, Dave. We'll collaborate on that.
Very good.
Jump through our comments here. Ron is out in Canada, and it was cold and cloudy a few weeks ago, and then boom, 90s all this week. 0 out of 10 recommend.
No.
John is not good when he rushes at mini painting. And he says, not that I'm good when I take my time either. And we're all terrible at painting, John. Don't feel bad, John. And Matt is so awesome. I enjoy talking to him while he paints on stream. I haven't seen his paint streams because I don't think he's done one for a little while. I know he's been on he's been on an Arc, the video game. He's been on a bender of that for quite a while. So, if we're gonna show off miniatures that we've done, I painted this roper a long time.
Oh, that's rad. Spin him around. Let's see the whole thing.
They won't focus on him.
It's fine. I just got to make sure you painted the back.
I did. Like the eye, was like
yeah.
I did a good bit of detail work on the eye, and I was very proud of that. But
was that the did you follow any kind of color scheme, or did you just go with whatever you had at the time?
Dave, you know my situation with color. I don't
know.
Do well with it, but I pretty much just went gray and gray.
That's good. I like the mouth. I like the colors you choose for like the mouth and the eyes. Like that's really solid. Looks good.
But yeah, my favorite thing while painting is if I need to paint with like greens and reds, and I have a real hard time distinguishing shades of those. So like there was one mini I painted, and I showed it to someone, and they're like, they told me like, oh, I like the little highlights you did there. And I was like, what highlights? Is that not all the same color? I
mean, yeah. Well, actually, I wonder if you, one of the things you could do is to kind of, and this gets a little bit more complex and into like the competition and display stuff, but like you can take a photo of your mini and then like kind of almost like grayscale it, and it gives you just the pure contrast like light values of it without the hue and saturations and such. So you might have something that you think looks really full with lots of volume and contrast and values, but then when you do that, you're like, well, it just all looks flat in the same thing. So I kind of see how somebody might think that with you, but also that it's weird how our eyes work. And as you get more into mini painting, you learn that the human eye is kind of a weird thing. Like it's a silly thing that it's just like why are our minds and eyes so dumb sometimes? But I mean, it really is. Like, I mean, there's some things that are like, why do our brains translate things this way? And it's just strange. It's very odd.
See, we got John. That roper is awesome. Thank you, John. I had a lot of fun painting that one. Ron also has trouble distinguishing between certain colors, and it's bad when he's at work and has to stop and ask coworkers, what color is this? Ron, I feel that 100%. I don't have to deal with color too much in my line of work, but on occasion, I have to. But yeah. So, I think that's all we have for this live stream. It was a shorter one. We were just working on some miniature prep, talking about Final Boss Con. Ron, you know, if you have free plane tickets to Ohio, you should come to Final Boss Con, even though I realize that's, you know, probably not going to happen. But Final Boss Con is this Saturday, July 15th at University of Rio Grande in Rio Grande, Ohio. Hopefully, if you're watching this between now and then, you come out and meet the Blue Dragon Guild, come paint some minis, and see all of the different vendors and everything that Mackenzie has set up for Final Boss Con. Over 90 vendors. We have Matthew David Rudd, voice actor. He was Panda in Jujutsu Kaisen. he's going to be there. Blaine Pardoe, if you know who that is, he wrote a lot of the BattleTech books, and he wrote a bunch of different RPG stuff in the early 2000s for like the 3.5 era of D&D. A lot of BattleTech stuff there. And we're going to have Jack Russo, who was the screenwriter for the original Night of the Living Dead movie. So all those guys are going to be there. There's going to be a lot going on. It's going to be a really, really awesome time. And hopefully we see some people there. I know we're going to see John there. Ron, yeah, it'd be a pretty rough trip. Definitely enjoyed chatting with you again. We're definitely going to try to do a lot more live streams in the coming future. So, yeah, thanks for checking it out. John, looking forward to seeing you as well. So until next time, we'll see you at Final BossCon.